Every day in our world, someone is running. Running from fear, running from pressure, running from people who don't respect their boundaries or their worth. Every day, someone feels silenced. Someone feels broken. Someone feels like a part of them has died. A dream, a relationship, their confidence, their peace. We scroll through social media and see perfection, but in real life, people are hurting. People are fighting silent battles. People are trying to hold themselves together with nothing but prayer and hope. And sometimes, feels like the world is too heavy, too violent, too demanding. Like innocence doesn't stand a chance. Like saying no is dangerous. Like purity, faith, and dignity don't matter anymore. But then we hear the story of a young woman in ancient Wales, a girl who faced pressure, violence, and fear, and yet God raised her up again. Her name was Winefride, and her story is not just a miracle from the past. It is a message for anyone today who has ever felt afraid, cornered, or broken. As you listen to her story today, ask yourself one question: where do I need God to raise me again? Because what happened to Winefride on that Welsh hillside has something to say to every wounded heart in our world. This is the story of a young woman whose faith was stronger than fear, whose purity was stronger than violence, and whose miracle still flows with healing water today. This is the story of Saint Winefride. Winefride was born in a quiet corner of Wales, in a family known for devotion and hospitality. People often said there was something gentle about her, a peace that seemed to follow her everywhere. Her uncle was Saint Beuno, one of the great holy men of early Wales. Under his guidance, Winefride learned prayer, humility, and the desire to dedicate her life completely to God. She dreamed of becoming a nun, a bride of Christ, living a life of prayer and service. But not everyone respected her calling. One day, a young local prince named Caradoc arrived in the village. He was powerful, impulsive, and used to getting what he wanted. When he saw Winefride, he was captivated, not by her faith, but by her beauty. He approached her with boldness, demanding her attention, insisting that she become his. But Winefride refused. Calmly, firmly, her heart belonged to Christ. Caradoc's eyes fill with rage. How many times in our world do people want us for what they can take, not for who we are? How many times are boundaries ignored, voices silenced, dignity stepped on? Winefride said no, not out of pride, but because her heart belonged to God. Where in your life do you need the courage to say no? To protect your peace, your calling, your worth? Frightened, Winefride fled toward the small chapel where her uncle, Saint Beuno, was praying. She knew that within those walls, she would find safety. But Caradoc followed her. When Winefride reached the chapel door, he caught up. With a heart filled with violence and pride, Caradoc raised his sword and struck. Winefride's head fell from her body, rolling down the hill, and where it landed, the ground trembled. A spring of crystal clear water erupted from the soil, fresh, pure, shimmering. The villagers gasped. This was no ordinary pool. The water sparkled as if touched by heaven. When Saint Beuno saw what had happened, he did not weep. He knelt beside his niece's lifeless body, lifted her head, and prayed with deep, unwavering faith. Beuno prayed, "Lord, Restore this child whom you have chosen." And then the impossible happened. The girl rose. Her head was restored. Her body healed. Her life returned, not as a ghost, not as a vision, but fully, completely, miraculously. The villagers fell to their knees. Caradoc, struck by a divine judgment, collapsed and died where he stood. Winefride did not return to an ordinary life. She entered the religious life she had always dreamed of, a life of prayer, humility, and devotion. She eventually became an abbess, known for wisdom, kindness, and a heart overflowing with Christ's love. She lived many years after her miracle, guiding countless souls. And what of that spring, the place where her head fell, where heaven touched earth? It became known as Saint Winefride's Well, one of the oldest pilgrimage sites in the world. For over 1,300 years, people have come to its waters seeking healing, comfort, and hope. They call it the Lourdes of Wales. Stories of miraculous healings are countless. Winefride's story is not just about a violent act or a shocking miracle. It's about God's power to restore what is broken, to lift what has fallen, to renew what was shattered. It is the story of a young woman who refused to trade purity for power, who chose God over fear, and whose life became a testimony that grace is stronger than death. Where do you need to rise again? Where is God calling you to healing? Where is He asking you to trust Him, even when life feels shattered? Think about this. Her deepest wound became the source of healing for others. What if your scars, your pain, your journey becomes someone else's spring of hope? Her well still flows, her story still moves hearts, and her courage still inspires those who walk the narrow path of faith. May the faith of Saint Winefride strengthen your own journey. Follow Stories of the Saints for more miraculous stories of hope and holiness. Thank you for watching Stories of the Saints. And please kindly subscribe to this channel for more stories of the saints. Until next time, keep the faith burning.